Jerry, congratulations on your award for the NSCAA Coach of the Year award. It's a very prestigious award given to one of the best coaches in the high school ranks right now in the country. So I want to definitely congratulate you on that award. I want you to talk about that award and what that means to you.
Well, it just means a culmination of a long career of hard work, and also means that our local soccer community here in Brevard County is being recognized as one of the best in the country also. Because, without good players being trained as they grow up by all the quality youth coaches in the area, by the time they get to high school, you can't really have a good team.
Right.
So it's very rewarding for me personally, and it's also very rewarding for the soccer community to be recognized in such a prestigious way.
Talk about your transition to coming to Melbourne.
Well, my father moved me down here when I was a kid because he took a job at the Kennedy Space Center. Mm-hmm. So, I ended up at the University of Florida, and I worked there for a couple of years after I got out of the University of Florida, local high schools in Gainesville, and then eventually saw how soccer was growing in Melbourne and moved back.
What inspired you to become a coach for soccer?
Growing up, I was always keen into sports, and fell in love with soccer around the high school age, and followed the North American Soccer League and the English Premier League growing up. And a lot of my best role models growing up were my coaches. So it was just a natural progression for me to follow in their footsteps and want to be involved with athletics as much as possible, and be a teacher and a coach at the same time. Worked out really nicely for me.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your team you had this year. Talk about the team that you had this year. Talk about a few of the players also that are standing out for you this year. Who's having a good season this year?
Well, our two captains are Owen Torkowski and Zach Harrison. They're our two center backs, and that's the foundation of our team. And we have two very fast forwards up top, in Austin Brinkley and Nathaniel Grant. Nathaniel's a senior. We have a senior goalkeeper in Jared Williams, and lots of good players to support all those guys.
You have a lot of young guys coming up through the ranks you're excited about?
Our freshman class is very strong this year, and we have a strong junior class in terms of the total number of players we have in it. And we have a strong freshman class in terms of the total number of players that we have in it, and a large quantity of players in each of those classes. So,
how's your team looking this year?
We're 11-2-2. The two games we lost were district games, which just so happens to be, how you measure your progression going towards the playoffs. So that's something that I know that we can overcome. It's just a matter, all the district games are going to be tough, though, because we're in a 4-team district with Vieira, Sebastian River, and Heritage High School, and all those teams are tough games. And tomorrow night we play Heritage, which is going to be another tough seeding game for us.
Great.
And that was in 1987-88, and I took a job with the girls team, and we ended up hosting the state championship a couple years in a row with the girls program. It was in the beginning of the girls program. And then 3 years later, I took over the boys team in '91, and we won the state championship with the boys program in '94. 3 years later, and then there was 15 years difference between that first boys state championship and the one I won in '09. And then we won back-to-back, and then we won last year as well. So there's a 20-year gap between the first one and the last one, and two in between. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Now, talk a little bit. Little international soccer. Have you been to any World Cup matches, or you follow the U.S. soccer team pretty closely then, or?
Big fan of U.S. soccer. Followed the national team very closely. Went to all the World Cup games in Orlando in '94. Went to a couple of friendlies in Tampa, and I lived in Tampa for a couple of years, and went a lot of games there in Tampa. And went to one of the World Cup team games to warm up for the World Cup in Jacksonville when they beat Germany. I think it was about 10 years ago.
Well, who's your favorite English Premier team? I have to ask you.
Manchester United, because originally Fox Network showed all their games, and that was the only games I would be able to get.
Yeah.
Before we had so much coverage that we have now, where you can see just about every team.
Yeah.
But back when I started following them, around the late '80s, was when Sir Alex first arrived, and they had players like Roy Keane and Dwight York and Andy Cole, and it was just great to watch them.
Yeah, you had one of the best players a few years ago, and Cristiano Ronaldo as well. So
Yeah. So they're always been an exciting team to watch. If you follow Manchester United, you're pretty much going to see the best teams in the world eventually. So.
what do you think about the job Jurgen Klinsmann's doing right now with the U.S. soccer team?
Best team we ever had was in 2002 when Bruce Arena was the coach. We went to the quarterfinals. We lost to Germany 1-0, but we had a shout for a handball at the end of the match.
Yeah.
And then, we've done just as well as we have with Klinsmann with a couple of the previous coaches, but he's brought a little bit more professionalism in terms of holding the players accountable at the highest level throughout the year.
Right.
And it's a little more, disciplined in that regard.
Are you seeing, as far as being a high school coach, are you seeing more excitement around soccer through the high school in recent years? Because with this whole U.S. soccer team, it's been getting more popular among the youth. Have you seen any reflection of that? Have you seen any improvement or?
Well, Klinsmann brought in the Developmental Academy program, which is a year-round Olympic development program for high school age kids, which is a traveling team. But a lot of those players that play in that can't play high school anymore. But there is a lot of enthusiasm for soccer at all levels in this country, and it seems to be growing more and more each year. And this past World Cup past summer was the most exciting World Cup I've ever been a part of in terms of how much passion the United States fans have shown towards the sport collectively.
I want to thank you very much, Jerry, for joining me here today, and I want to congratulate you once again on being a Coach of the Year by the NSCAA. And best of luck in the playoffs this year, and hopefully go get another championship.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.